Because when I try to embrace the concept of homelessness, is it a problem, and how can we fix it? One way for me to process it is, well, let's look at homefullness. If you lack a house, you basically, homelessness is really a relational problem. You've got broken relationships, and you find yourself more and more isolated to where you're now living in a tent rather than being in a home with other people. So sometimes it's good to look at, in the same way that Lewis's analogy, mud pies in the slums versus a holiday at the beach, let's look at the holiday at the beach concept. So what is the home? And maybe I'll be a little bit idealistic, because this is a broken world. We know this, and Romans talks about that it's been subjected to futility. So we're going to be frustrated. It's never going to be perfect. There are no utopias. There are more dystopias than utopias. But it's fair game to look at what God has designed for the family. And I do experience some of this. When I have 5 kids, 10 grandkids, and sometimes when we gather together, the lights are on, the electricity is working, the food smells great, there's a certain warmth and acceptance of all members. I have a special needs grandkid, Down syndrome, and the fact that we just love him for what he can do, we're not judging what he can't do, that's there. We have different personalities among us, and so we make accommodations for each other's gifts and weaknesses. If somebody's not feeling well, we try to understand that. So there's just something about it when you sit down together, and let's say it's a Thanksgiving meal where the food is really good, and people have sacrificed to make their presence at this occasion. There's something about that. You might turn on favorite music. You might sing together. And then in my family, my wife and I are music students, so we taught our kids to sing. So when we sing, we can sing 4-part harmony.
Wow.
And so even that element, it's like this richness of the arts can come in. You can talk about the movies that you've seen. And when it gets right down to, okay, well, if there's work to be done in the house, like maybe the cleanup after this meal or the preparation of the meal or maybe some games afterwards, it activates the gifts of the members. Some people are better at doing things than others. And that's all kind of understood. We live together, we're connected, and a community can be like that as well. So if we look at the holiday and the beach example of, this is just wonderful and it's rich, people are connected and accepted. So sometimes extended families, neighborhoods, communities sometimes get a little piece of that cohesion.
That's true.
So that their parks are developed so that people can come and safely play and engage and have competitive sports. And so that's the ideal. And then, so what about the people that are not included in that society? What if somebody brought a guest into my home or a guest into my community? And what if that someone had some significant disabilities or dysfunctions? What would we do? So it's this kind of mindset. How do you bring people who are broken into wholeness? How do you take people who seem to be satisfied making mud pies in the slum, how do you invite them into your holiday at the beach? And I really do think the Gospel Rescue Mission is designed. You have years of experience under the belt of trying to point to the concept of inclusion and health and the dignity of work and your contribution, rather than it's not satisfactory for you to just be a sponge on society, to do your own thing, to settle for the mud, perhaps remain in your addictions and the kind of behaviors that got you to this isolated condition to begin with. That's not good for you. And so I love the idea that the rescue mission is truly trying to rescue them into wholeness. And the holiday at the beach. So that's how that analogy works for me. That we oftentimes we look at the problem, and then we hope that someone else will fix the problem. And we often look at an institutional or governmental model because we pay our taxes. Let's let the government take care of that. And we don't often look at the family model for how we fix problems.
We've been doing it for thousands of years.
And so if the discussion went to, so what about the people who resist all your loving, compassionate attempts to help them? Well, the family, so what do you do with a child? I mean, look at young children who are disobedient, and you find ways to try to move them toward, yes, you do need to do your chores. Yes, you do need to do your homework. Yes, you do need to stop eating that or taking that or smoking that, etc. And you do so from a position of love and care. It's not like, get the heck out of my house. You don't do that to shouldn't do that with a child.
Yeah.
And if you ever get to the point where you have to kick someone out, it's after years of tears and compassionate intervention. So I would tend to think that the Gospel Rescue Mission represents a faith-based family model of intervention rather than kind of what would be the sterile model of bureaucracy trying to take someone else's money and throw it at a problem and let's just see what happens. Oh, that's not working. Well, let's try to throw some other money, which is really a form of enablement, and it doesn't fix the problem or hasn't yet.